I'm James Rule. Welcome to the Lonely Leader podcast, where we help existing and aspiring leaders find clarity, build resilience, drive performance, and enhance fulfillment. Leading through adversity is the focus of this episode of the Lonely Leader podcast. Now, wouldn't we all love to glide through life without any problems, challenges, or adversity in our leadership roles? But that's not reality. There are going to be challenges, they're going to come thick and fast, and we will have to lead through periods of adversity. That is the reality. So today I want to talk about some simple steps gleaned from my experiences of operating as a CEO, and also from the privilege of working with high-class leaders and high performers in a variety of sectors around the world. I'm constantly learning. As much as I endeavor to coach and mentor individuals, the benefit of the role I now enjoy is that you are also learning from best practice. You are trying to support people's growth and development, but they are also supporting my growth and development because I get to see tactics, strategies, tools that work and that yield positive results. So here are some simple steps that can help you lead through periods of adversity. First and foremost, you have to focus on what you can control. I know this is stating the obvious, but as so often within these episodes, I talk about the principle that common sense is not always common practice. And when you're faced with challenge, when you're faced with adversity, it's very easy to let your focus move towards all the stresses and challenges that are beyond your control. But we all know the futility of that. We're just burning up energy and we're losing time, procrastinating and thinking about those areas outside of our control. So ask yourself that key question: what can I control? Now, it may be that your mind's giving you 20 things that are out of your control, and only one thing springs to mind that is within your control. That's absolutely fine. Execute that one thing and then ask the question again. And action builds momentum. I guarantee that if you only have one thing on your list, by the time you've executed it and repeated that question, something else will come to mind. So take action on what you can control. The second key step is make a decision. Again, it's very easy to get stuck in procrastination. When we're in periods of challenge, adversity, and stress, we start to think about worst case scenario, what might go wrong, what ifs, and we try and protect ourselves from the downside of our decisions by gathering as much intelligence and insight as is possible. But the problem with that is we can lull ourselves into a sense of, well, this is the right thing to do. But what we're really doing is drifting into the world of procrastination. I always remember reading about Colin Powell, the former Secretary of State and decorated military leader in the US. And he had something he called the 40-70 principle. He said that particularly in the military arena, if you make knee-jerk decisions without sufficient intelligence, you are putting people's lives at risk. But equally, if you procrastinate and spend too much time trying to secure 100% of the intelligence, you are also potentially putting people's lives at risk because you are taking too long and you are being indecisive. So his 40-70 principle was about the sweet spot of when to make a decision. He believed you needed more than 40% of the available intelligence, but if you got much beyond, say, 70%, then you were drifting into procrastination. And once he was in that 40-70 zone, he would feel comfortable to make a decision. Now, thankfully, many of us are not dealing with life and death situations, but the principle of the need to be decisive, to gather intelligence, but not delay unnecessarily, gathering every possible nuance of intelligence, I think holds true. So make a decision. That's the second key step. The third key step is be flexible. The nature of any decision is you will get some right and you will get some wrong. You are not an all-seeing sage. It is not expected that you are infallible and every single decision is correct. And unfortunately, I do see numerous episodes where people's ego comes into play here, and they feel that admitting that perhaps they made the wrong decision or being willing to be flexible and adapt and adjust a strategy is perceived as a sign of weakness. Actually, I'd say it's a sign of strength. So being willing to look at what's in front of you and be flexible. Someone from your team may come forward with an adaptation to a strategy. They are at the coalface. They may have seen something that you've missed. Be willing to change. You may make a decision. The beauty of making any decision is if you retain your flexibility, you can immediately course correct. If you feel that you're drifting down the wrong path, make another decision and another decision. And each time, the combination of being decisive but retaining a willingness to be flexible allows you to keep progressing, moving forward, and leading through adversity. The next key step, the fourth area I want to cover, is protect your energy. Anybody that works with me, anybody that's been a part of the Lonely Leader programs, the Creating Unshakable Resilience program, the Leadership Accelerator, will know that we have a big focus on energy. The reality is, if you allow your energy to be depleted, you then compromise your ability to lead effectively. It's just like the somewhat simplistic analogy. When our mobile phone runs out of battery, it no longer functions. We all recognize that, and yet we are often deluded in our expectations of what our mental and physical capacity can deliver. If we just run ourselves into the ground, we will suffer a consequence, and that is an inability to think clearly, to execute optimally, and to lead through adversity. So it's really important to find the ways to protect your energy and to restore your energy. We've got to be looking at how we build our daily routines, how we start and finish every day, how we take steps to empower our mindset, how we enhance our sleep quality. There are so many facets to this, which again, if I was working with you in a one-to-one capacity or you were participating in some of our programs, we will get deeper into. But fundamentally, if I was to say, look at three areas, the recovery three, it would be, how are you sleeping? How are you exercising? And what is your nutrition like? Sleep, exercise, nutrition. Common sense isn't always common practice. We know that we need to eat well, exercise regularly, and get good quality sleep. That is the most simple but often neglected area to protect energy and enhance energy. So as you're listening to this, have a think about, well, what could I do to move a little bit more, to exercise a little bit more? How could I improve my nutrition? Because if you want to lead to the best of your ability, you have to have energy to do so. And last but not least, the fifth tip I want to talk about is self-validation versus external validation. We are in a society now where so much of what goes on is governed by external validation. Social media, the need for likes and swipes have conditioned us that we can feel good when we receive positive external validation, and we must feel bad when we receive negative external validation. But this ties in to one of the best definitions I've ever heard for high performance, which came from the ex-professional footballer and football manager Phil Neville. And he said, high performance is doing the best that you can with the resources you have available in the moment you are in. And I really like that, because it isn't just high performance is winning or losing. It's not as binary as that. It's about taking note of the moment you are in and the resources that you have available. And often when you see external stakeholders, individuals posting criticism of other individuals, it's often with a lack of understanding of what was the moment they were in and the resources that they had available. And that's why you can't take a lot of external criticism personally. We've talked about that on a previous episode, because only you truly know what that moment was like. It's easy to look at the end result with the benefit of hindsight and say, well, that leader should have done this or should have done that. But it doesn't make allowance for what was going on in that moment in time. How much intelligence did you have at your disposal to make the decision? How much resource did you have at your disposal to make the decision? So we have to get comfortable being able to look ourselves in the eye and seek only our own validation. If everybody's telling us we've done a great job, but we know in our heart of hearts we could have done better, then we need to listen to that. And equally, if everyone's telling us we've done a terrible job, but we know in our heart of hearts there's not a lot more I could have done in that moment with the resource I have available, then you need to protect your mindset and recognize that fact and not beat yourself up because of negative external validation. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that you go rogue, that you become some sort of dictator, that you no longer seek the opinions of your colleagues and your management team, for instance. What I'm talking about here is the ability to do that as a matter of course, but whatever the outcome, be comfortable moving forward with your own assessment on that performance rather than ebbing and flowing with external comments and external validation that may not have the full insight and the full picture of what you are dealing with. So I hope these 5 tips have been helpful. We will all have to lead through adversity. So rather than fear it, it's best to prepare ourselves. And I hope that as you reflect on these 5 steps, it will give you a clear roadmap of how you can lead yourself individually and your organization through periods of adversity. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Leader podcast. I'd be very grateful if you could share and follow if the content resonates. And if you're looking for additional free resource to support your continued growth and development, then please do check out our social media and website details in the show notes. Remember, quality leadership on the outside must always start within.